Hi everybody, it's Mr. Baker and it's Friday. After 2 weeks of missing you guys, I do have a couple of extra things for you today. In the description down below, I'm going to have some links to some really fun music websites that you can get on and play around with. One of them is called Chrome Music Lab, where you get to play a lot of fun different games. Another one is called Incredibox, where you can make all these funny little guys beatbox to different rhythms and different sounds. And another one, you can get your family to help you make your own instrument. Maybe you can even show me in a picture. So, I hope you guys check those out and have some fun. And it's time for the last few chapters of Dinosaurs Before Dark. When last we saw them, our two kids were trying to get back home, but Jack had left his book out and he had to go get it. When he came back to the treehouse, the T-Rex was standing between him and the treehouse where Annie was. I wonder how they're going to get out of this. Chapter 8, A Giant Shadow. Jack jumped behind the magnolia tree. His heart was beating so fast he could hardly think. He peeked out at the giant monster. The horrible-looking creature was opening and closing its huge jaws. Its teeth were as big as steak knives. "Don't panic," thought Jack. "Think." He peered down at the valley. Okay, good. The duck-billed dinosaurs were still sticking close to their nests. Jack looked back at the Tyrannosaurus. Good. The monster still didn't seem to know he was there. Don't panic. Think, think, think. Maybe there's more information in the book. So Jack opened the dinosaur book and he found the Tyrannosaurus Rex. He read, Tyrannosaurus Rex was one of the largest meat-eating land animals of all time. If it were alive today, it could eat a human in one bite. Wow. Even eating Mr. Baker in one bite? Yikes. Great, thought Jack. The book was no help at all. Jack tried to think clearly. He couldn't hide on the other side of the hill. All the Anatasauruses might stampede. And he couldn't run to the tree house. The Tyrannosaurus might run faster than him. Maybe he could just wait for the monster to leave? Jack peeked around the tree. The Tyrannosaurus had wandered closer to the hill he was on. But then something caught Jack's eye. Annie was coming down the rope ladder. No, Annie! Is she nuts? What is she doing? Jack wondered. Jack watched Annie hop off the ladder, and Annie hurried over to Pteranodon. She was talking to him. She was flapping her arms and pointing at Jack and the sky and at the treehouse. She is nuts, Jack thought. Go back up in the tree, Jack whispered. Go, as if she could hear him. Then Jack heard a roar. The Tyrannosaurus Rex was looking in his direction. Jack hit the ground. The T-Rex was coming toward the hill. Jack felt the ground shaking. What should I do? Jack wondered. Should I run? Should I crawl back into the dinosaur valley? Should I climb the magnolia tree? Suddenly, a giant shadow covered Jack, and he looked up. It was the Pteranodon gliding overhead. The giant creature sailed toward the top of the hill and was heading toward Jack. Chapter 9. The Amazing Ride. The Pteranodon coasted down to the ground. He stared at Jack with his bright, alert eyes. What was Jack supposed to do? Wait, climb on? But I'm too heavy, thought Jack. But Jack looked at the Tyrannosaurus. It was staring up the hill, and its giant teeth were flashing in the sunlight. Okay, thought Jack, don't think, just do it. So Jack put his book in his pack, and then he climbed onto the Pteranodon's back, and he held on tightly. The creature moved forward. He spread his wings and lifted off the ground. Jack nearly fell off as they teetered this way and that. The Pteranodon steadied himself and rose into the sky. Jack looked down. The Tyrannosaurus was staring up at him and chomping in the air like he wanted to grab him out of the sky. But the Pteranodon just glided away. He sailed over the hilltop and over the valley. He circled above all the duck-billed dinosaurs and all the nests filled with babies. Then the Pteranodon soared out over the plain, over the Triceratops who was grazing in the high grass. Jack felt like a bird. The wind was rushing through his hair. The air smelled sweet and fresh. Jack whooped and laughed. He couldn't believe it. He was riding on the back of an ancient flying reptile. I would love to do that, if it was safe. The Pteranodon sailed over the stream and over the ferns and bushes. Then he carried Jack down to the base of the oak tree. That old T-Rex can't grab him up there. When they came to a stop, Jack slid off the creature's back and landed on the ground. The Pteranodon took off again and glided into the sky. "Bye, Henry," called Jack. "Jack, are you okay?" Annie shouted from the treehouse. Jack pushed his glasses back into place and he kept staring at the Pteranodon. "Jack," Annie called. Jack looked up at Annie and just smiled. "Thanks for saving my life," he said. "That was really, really fun." "Thank Henry, not me," said Annie. "Come on, climb up." Jack tried to stand. His legs were a little wobbly, and he felt a little dizzy. "Hurry!" shouted Annie. "It's coming!" Jack looked around. The Tyrannosaurus was headed straight toward him. Jack bolted to the ladder and started climbing. "Hurry! Hurry!" screamed Annie. Jack reached the top and scrambled into the treehouse. "It's coming toward the tree!" Annie cried. The dinosaur slammed against the oak tree. The oak tree house shook like a leaf in the wind. Jack and Annie tumbled into the books. "Make a wish to go home!" cried Annie. "We need the book, the Pennsylvania book," said Jack. "Where is it?" They both searched madly around the treehouse as it shook. "Found it," said Jack. He grabbed the book and flipped through the pages. He found the photograph of the Frog Creek woods. Jack pointed to the picture in his book. "I wish we could go home," he shouted, and the wind began to blow. Jack closed his eyes. He held on tightly to Annie. The treehouse started to spin and spin faster and faster, and then everything went still. Absolutely still. And we'll have to leave it there. No, I'm just kidding. Chapter 10, Home Before Dark. Whew. Jack heard a bird singing. He opened his eyes. He was still pointing at the picture of the Frog Creek woods. He peeked out of the treehouse window. Outside, he saw the exact same view as the picture in the book. "We're home," he whispered. The woods were lit with a golden late afternoon light. The sun was just about to set. Wow, no time had passed at all since they left Frog Creek. "Jack! Annie!" a voice called from the distance. "That's Mom," said Annie. Jack saw their mother far away. She was standing in front of their house and looked really tiny from where they were. "Annie! Jack!" Annie stuck her head out the window and shouted, "Coming!" Jack still felt dazed. He just stared at Annie. "What happened to us?" "We took a trip in the magic treehouse, of course," said Annie. "But it's the same time as when we left." Annie shrugged. "How did it take us so far away and so long ago?" "You looked at a picture in a book and said you wished you could go there. And the magic treehouse took us there." "But how?" said Jack. "And who built this magic treehouse? Who put all these books here?" "A magic person, I guess," said Annie. "Oh, look, I almost forgot about this," said Jack. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the gold medallion. "Someone lost this back there. In Dinosaur Land, look, there's a letter M on it." "I bet that's M for Mr. Baker, right?" Annie's eyes got round. "You think M stands for magic person?" she asked. "I don't know," said Jack. "I just know someone went to that place before us." "Jack, Annie," called their mom again. "Coming!" shouted Annie again. Jack put the gold medallion back in his pocket. He pulled the dinosaur book out of his pack and put it back with all the other books. Then he and Annie took one last look around the treehouse. "Goodbye, treehouse," whispered Annie. Jack slung his backpack over his shoulders, and Annie started down the rope ladder, Jack following. Just seconds later, they hopped onto the ground and started walking out of the woods. "No one's going to believe our story," said Jack. "So let's not tell anyone," said Annie. "Dad won't believe it." "He'll say it was a dream." "Mom won't believe it." "She'll say it was pretend." "My teacher won't believe it." "She'll say you're nuts." "We better not tell anyone." "I already said that," said Annie. Jack sighed. I think I'm starting to not believe it myself." They left the woods and started up the road to their house. As they walked past all the houses on their street, the trip to Dinosaur Time did seem more and more like a dream. Only this world and this time seemed real. Jack reached into his pocket and held on to that gold medallion, though, and he felt the engraving of that letter M, and it made his fingers tingle. Jack laughed. Suddenly he just felt really, really happy. He couldn't explain what happened today, but he knew for sure their trip in the magic treehouse had been real. Absolutely real. "Tomorrow," Jack said softly, "we're going to go back into those woods." "Of course," Annie said. "And we're going to climb up into the treehouse." "Of course," said Annie. "And then we'll see what happens next," said Jack. "Of course," said Annie. "Race you home." And they took off together, running for home. The end. Now, for those of you that don't know, the Magic Treehouse series is a bunch of books where they go to whole bunches of different places. So I hope you might be able to check some of them out and see where else they go to. The second Treehouse book was called The Night at Dawn. I think they go to the time of knights and castles. And the third one is Mummies in the Morning. So, I hope you can check them out sometime, and I hope you enjoyed reading a chapter book with me. Check out those websites down below for some music fun, and I hope you have a really good weekend. I miss you. Bye-bye.